meeting.
You're good. I didn't ask James if he was going to join us, but I assumed that he would. I guess I did that thing that you do when you assume something. Lori, are you ready to go with this?
We're ready.
Okay. All right, will it be in, oh, hold on a second. Late coming message from. All right, we're going to call the meeting of the Yelm City Council of August 24th, 2021 to order. We will forego our usual salute to the flag as we are entering, as soon as we take the roll, we're going to enter right into our executive session, which means you'll have to log out of this, go into the special executive session Zoom link that Kathy would have sent you earlier. When we're finished with that, then we'll come back into this link and join the regular meeting right at 6 o'clock. So if Kathy would take the roll for the purpose of the executive session, please.
Councilmember James Blair. Councilmember Molly Carmody. Councilmember EJ Curry.
Here.
Councilmember Holly Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Joe DePinto.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Kaminsky.
Here.
Mayor JW Foster.
Here. Okay, with the roll call.
I forgot Tracy.
Here.
Did we get Councilmember
Sorry,
Tracy Wood.
Councilmember Tracy Wood.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, 2 demerits, Gryffindor. So we are now going to adjourn into an executive session for the purpose of discussing upcoming negotiations with our organized bargaining units. The executive session is scheduled to go no later than 6 o'clock. We will resume the regular city council meeting at 6 o'clock, at which time we will do our usual roll call again and salute to the flag, etc. So for the purpose of the recording, we have now adjourned into an executive session, and we'll see you all there in that executive session momentarily.
So hit the leave button, right?
We're back.
We're back.
I will go get out of this timer.
Okay, thank you, Brianna.
You're welcome.
Well, has Elliot gone to college yet?
I'll tell you, there are days when she does these most amazing things.
She's brilliant.
She really is. It's fun to watch. Yeah, we're on. We're live.
And unmuted.
Live from the Yelm Prairie. Want to see who we have for attendees.
I'm council
It
member.
says two, but I just see,
Oh, Debbie?
not yet, but we still have 11 minutes.
That's true. They did a hand recount, didn't they, with,
Yeah.
did it come out?
You are unmuted.
Thank you. Kathy, would you send Councilmember Kaminsky the link to this meeting again, please?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we're back live. We'll wait for the actual time before we start the meeting. Yeah, we're unmuted.
He mutes his kid, that one, so you're gonna get two.
Welcome, Debbie, Josh, Stephanie, and family. Yep.
Okay.
Good evening, Josh.
Kathy, just ignore my calls for help on another link, please.
We got you covered, Terry.
I used Brianna's link. I don't know how we got that, but thank you. I was fiddle faddling and it just.
Mr. Flippy to the rescue.
Panic, panic.
You did good.
Hey, I'm still driving, so I'm gonna leave video off until I get back to the house.
All right, James, thank you. That's for fun.
We're gonna start getting people in here, all the prospective council members start showing up.
Oh,
They won't come. No one will come. See how they're joyfully bounding off to dinner.
They look so happy.
I know. Uh,
2-minute warning. Kathy, did you hear from Councilmember Carmody today at all?
I have not heard from her.
Nor have I.
I know she's out of town.
Yeah, I knew that too.
Okay, thanks, James.
It's in Indiana.
All right, it's straight up 6 o'clock Yelm time, so I will end the executive session that we went into. We are back in general session of the Yelm City Council meeting of August 24th, 2021. And as is our habit, we will call the meeting to order by doing a salute to the flag. Find a flag near you and join me in that salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And even though we took the roll for the record of the executive session, would the clerk take the roll for the general meeting as well, please?
Councilmember James Blair,
Here,
Councilmember Molly Carmody. Councilmember EJ,
Go ahead. We'll call Councilmember Carmody's absence excused, and she made it clear to several council members that she'd be out of town. Thank you.
Councilmember EJ Curry,
Here.
Councilmember Holly Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Tracy Wood,
Here.
Councilmember Joe DePinto,
Here.
Councilmember Terry Kaminsky,
Here.
Mayor JW Foster.
Here. Very good. Thank you. Could we approve the agenda, please?
Move to approve the agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Curry to approve the agenda,
Councilmember Wood, second.
seconded by Tracy. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. With that, we'll move right into item 4, special presentations by Public Services Director Cody Cole.
Awesome. Good evening, Council, Mayor. Before I get into the events recap, we do have one of our new staff members here, Landon. There he is. So just to introduce you to Landon, I know Public Services Committee has already met Landon, but I wanted to introduce him to the city and council. Landon joins us from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He is taking over our planning and building manager position, which is kind of what we created in Grant's Grant retired. So Landon is just, we're excited to have him on board. He has several years of experience. He can tell you more about himself if you're curious, but he's just going to be a great asset to the city and kind of moving forward with our future build and all our planning needs. I'll let you guys ask me questions or just say hi to Landon if you want. Ooh, now it's dark all of a sudden.
Hey, Landon.
Hi, Landon.
He's just a little camera shy, apparently. Oh, wait a minute. Yellow like frame. Oh, there he is. Hey. So we're all hoping that you could say a little something. Landon, could you say hi?
Yeah, I can say hi. So good to be with you, everyone. Sorry, my internet connection says it's a little unstable, so we'll do our best here. But yeah, I do come from Iowa. I'm originally from Oregon, though. So I'm a child of the Northwest. It's been really restorative to be here working in Yelm over the past few weeks. Really grateful for the opportunity. This is the 9th state I've lived in, so I've definitely lived a lot of different places and hopefully bring a lot of different and good perspectives, and excited to use those to make Yelm an even better place to be than it already is. And it seems like a really great place. Cody gave us the big tour a couple weeks ago, and I was charmed by the beauty of Yelm and the rainier views. Last of
He's frozen with happiness.
and sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
You froze up a little bit, but that was a good place to freeze up. When you said
Okay,
it was beautiful, you lit Councilmember Kaminsky's face right up.
good. Yeah, well, I'll stop there. It sounds like that was a good stopping place.
Well, we all welcome you. You've got a great new team to work with in a new organization. So hit the ground planning.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, we're definitely already trying to do that, and hopefully we'll have some fun stuff for the council to consider in the next few months.
Excellent. Any questions for Landon from the council team? All right, we'll let you get back about your business and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Landon.
All right, so back on to event recap. So one thing that the mayor and the management team was very excited to do or kind of go over was, now that we have all these events back in Yelm, what can we do next year to make them even better? Obviously, there are still 2 more events coming up. When I had planned this event recap, there was not 2 more events coming up, there was maybe 1. So we'll go over the events that we have had, kind of the things we need to know, and then what council and the community can do to kind of help make these events even more positive in the future. So this summer, we've had multiple events, to name a few: Mermaid Fest, Barbecue Rally, Jazz in the Park, Prairie Days, Fall Fest, birthday parties, coronations, and 1 quinceañera. So kudos to the park and how great it's been. The one thing we have noticed is that the difference between a successful event in the park and a non-successful event is coordination with the public services operation team. So far, all the major events have coordinated with us. We had a lot of problems in the past where events would set up and they'd spike irrigation lines or puncture sprinkler heads or damage power lines. So we've been really strong in coordinating with people that have that. And we kind of made that a mandatory thing when people sign up that we tell them they need to coordinate with public services team if they're going to put anything in the grass. And it's been amazing so far. Seasonal employees help supplement the workload. So a big thing that has helped us not having to preventing the large overtime draw is the seasonal employees. Without the seasonal employees, there would have been several employees having to work overtime on Saturdays and Sundays for a lot of these events and Friday nights. So very kudos to our seasonal employees and thanks for the help they provided us. Things we have discovered that didn't work so well, any event that has more than 1,000 people on site, the Yelm Park bathrooms just aren't enough. So you have lines starting to form. So any event that has over 1,000 people, we're going to require that event to bring in porta potties to help supplement our bathroom system. We just can't, 3 bathrooms aren't enough to keep up with that many people. Although we do our best and it was effective for some things, there was lines forming and people are getting a little frustrated at some point. So one thing we can do better. Splash pad ran flawlessly during all the events, and we were able to extend the hours of the splash pad to match the ending hours of each event, and that will continue with Prairie Days and the Fall Fest. So we will extend the hours need be to match the hours of whatever the event is. We've had 0 issues with the splash pad. We pre-clean the splash pad before that event happens. The biggest problem we have with the splash pad, and I think I've maybe talked to every council member about this at some point, was sunscreen, which is very important to sunscreen your kids and your family. But what happens is the sunscreen will wash off and get into the water tank and then congeals into a nice giant ball of grease and oil. And then that clogs up the filters. So we have to go in about every other week to just pull that glob out. At some point, you just can't do anything. We have to drain the whole tank and clean it out manually. So we've had to shut down the splash pad twice on our maintenance days, which you scheduled, right, those Mondays, to clean out that grease. But that's the only time we've had to shut it down. We should be good to run through the rest of the season through Labor Day. So yes, sunscreen your kids, but don't get too crazy. If you can, help us out just a little bit. So another thing that we've noticed is our trash facilities. During the large events, they get overwhelmed to the point where there's not enough trash cans to handle the facilities. Even with people working those trash cans, our dumpster isn't big enough to handle the load of the trash. So any events that have large amounts of people, we're going to require them to bring in or supplement our trash facilities with their own trash cans so ours don't get overwhelmed. Those are the biggest takeaways. And what I'm really hoping that council and citizens that have been to these events, if there's things that you've noticed that can be done better, not event per se, like what the event itself, but things in the park, like, maybe better directions for the bathrooms or signs leading you to places to cool off or get water, those kind of things that the city can do. We'd really like to hear that input because we can only go with what we've seen in these parks and these events. And I know the event coordinators are working to make the events better next year as well. So those can be sent to city council, the mayor, myself. There's a bunch of comments that you guys can leave for those. We encourage anyone that has any idea to how to help increase our park stability in these event times to come forward and talk to us. So I'd be happy to field any questions about events and anything in general about the city park.
I have a quick question. You mentioned the sunscreen. I'm just curious, is there a sign there asking people to limit it or anything? I haven't seen one. I'm just curious.
There is not, and it's not something we ever had to deal. This is the first time we ran the splash pad this often. So it wasn't anything we even knew was going to be an issue. And we've talked to other splash pad people and they didn't even mention it. And it's kind of that thing where just people don't think about it and it happens and you start getting that congeal ball and it's the sunscreen. And it's something we can clean. It's not a big deal. It's just, that's why we have to shut the splash pad down on Monday sometimes, is to clean out the oil congeal grease mess of sunscreen. So it happens. We understand. It's a side effect.
Cody, those porta potties that were there during the big events, does the city own any of those or do we hire them out as well?
Most of the events staff the events coordinators will order those porta potties through, any of the companies that do porta potties in the local area. The city normally does not supplement that. Obviously, it's a city event. The city has a way to obtain porta potties for city events. So in the future, any city event that we host, the city can obtain, but if it's an outside or third-party event, the city would not bring in its own porta potties to supplement those events.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Very good. Well, kudos to the Parks team, all your public services employees, Cody. I've been at all of those major events and heard over and over again from people who've come from all over what a beautiful park we have, how much they love our amenities that we have available for families. And it's all because of the work your team does. So thank you.
Yeah, thank them. The Parks team is absolutely amazing, and just thank you for giving them the ability to do their job. They really appreciate that. So
We know Tony's a little sad about the grass.
yeah.
But with 100+ degree days and thousands of people trotting all over that, it actually still looks pretty good.
Yeah, he's very proud of that grass. So
Awesome. All right, Thank you.
Council Mayor.
Okay, great update on Yelm events. We're now at the part where we invite the public to speak to the city council. I'll remind folks before I ask for public comment that if there is an item on the agenda, for example, tonight we are continuing the public hearing about the 6-year transportation improvement program, and that would be the appropriate place for the citizens to make comments about that agenda item. But if there's something not on the agenda that is on a citizen's mind and they would like to address the council, this would be the time to do it. And you could either use the question and answer box to get my attention, or I don't know if you can let them all talk, Brianna. You want to say hi to Debbie, Jelaine, Joshua, Stephanie, and Tim for attending tonight, and for all those who are watching the city council on live stream and YouTube. Welcome. So I don't see anyone trying to get my attention for public comment, and we don't have anyone in chambers. So we will move past the public comment section and go right into the consent agenda, which is just the August 10th minutes.
I move we approve the consent agenda. Councilmember Tracy Wood.
Second. I defer.
All right, Holly gets the second. Who was the second? Wasn't Terry?
I'll
It
give it
was
to
Terry. I didn't say anything this time.
Councilmember Kaminsky gets the second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That was important. All right, we're on to number 7, new business, which is a contract amendment with the Boys and Girls Club. And Cody, I think, is going to give us the update on that, please.
Wait your turn, Chief. Hello, Council. Hello, Council and Mayor again. Tonight before you, you have an amendment to the Boys and Girls contract. As you know, last year with COVID, the Boys and Girls Club wanted to expand and use the entire building. Council allotted them that request just for the school year of 2020. So that when the school year ended in 2021, that acceptance or that expansion ended. So in order to provide them with the same opportunities to continue to help out the boys and girls of Yelm and the school district, we're hoping that council will see it to amend the contract to give them the whole building for Old City Hall. This was brought on, as you know, from lack of, not lack of, but just veterans. We haven't had any contact from any veterans groups willing to fill that other part of the building, which was originally, when council voted on this, was supposed to be for a veterans group. So we allotted that to the Boys and Girls Club to expand into that area. And then as this year has gone on, we still haven't had any reach out from any veterans groups. And it just makes sense to have the Boys and Girls Club be able to use that whole building to help more children during this next school year and with COVID, and having to have expanded space between the students they have there and children they have there. So we'll be happy to answer any questions about the amendment before you. And yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead and call on them.
Did we ever get any other people asking about that incubator space, or did that also just go off the map?
If Councilmember Kaminsky remembers, when council approved this, the incubator space was taken out of the equation.
Okay,
The council decided to just have it a Boys and Girls Club in a veteran center.
okay, thank you.
No problem.
I move we approve the contract to allow the Boys and Girls Club to use the entire building.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember DePinto. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wait,
Thank you, council.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Wait,
Ms.
James has a
Blair had
question.
I had a comment before we did that.
Okay, yes, Councilmember Blair, sorry.
I mean, it's kind of mute now since everyone voted, but
Oh, hey, James, I'm sorry. You just got muted accidentally. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
I'm back. All right. I don't know if it's mute now because I'm pretty sure that was the vote, but I think this should be put and discussed more at the study session and not jumped on. Just so we can figure out if that's actually the route we want to go and not just rush into it right now. But I don't know if that vote just happened and this is a mute point anyway.
Councilmember, you want me to answer that, Mayor? Go ahead. Yeah, the reason why we're rushing is the school year starts in 2 weeks. And they need to have the space available once the school year starts on September 8th. So if we delayed it longer, they wouldn't be able to offer space for those kids at the start of the school year. That's the reason why it was kind of a rushed item in terms of the city having to move on it quickly. But I understand your concern.
Technically, by the Robert's Rules of Order, Councilmember Blair, and because we're on Zoom and we did not see your hand go up, this would be an opportunity for any council member who chose to reverse their vote on the previous vote, and they could have discussion on it and vote again. So if that's a desire, any of the council members, if they wish to change their vote from the previous motion, this would be the time that you could do that. If we still have a majority after that vote is changed, then you would still find that motion had passed. Being Councilmember DePinto.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not want to change my vote, but I did want to acknowledge Councilmember Blair on that and say that, you know, it is something that they do need, the Boys and Girls Club. They do need that whole building to serve as many kids as possible or students as possible. They've been doing a great job, been great stewards of that building, and they're serving a lot of people. It's just this great program that they're doing. So I really wouldn't want to see that any delays in that. I think they're doing a great job, but I get what you're saying though, council member, and we could have talked about it a little bit more and perhaps earlier in the year, but I personally think it's doing a great job.
All right, so with no changes in the vote, the vote stands the way it is, and we will go ahead and authorize the Boys and Girls Club to occupy the entire building for the school year. Know that in discussion with the Boys and Girls Clubs, they are looking at some options going forward, in that they not only need that space, they're looking for space to enlarge their operation in Yelm. They've got such great participation in it. It's been a real good thing to have in Yelm. So we're going to continue to work with them to see what we can do to support what they're doing for our community. All right, so now Chief Stansel, the moment you've been waiting for, ordinance 1076.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. So tonight I'm going to request that you authorize Mayor Foster to sign ordinance 1076, which establishes chapter 1034 in the Yelm Municipal Code, authorizing the use of wheeled all-terrain vehicles within the city limits of Yelm. Just a brief recap of how we got to here today. Back in 2013, the legislature passed House Bill 1632, which allowed, among other things, counties and cities to regulate the operation of non-highway vehicles on streets, roads, or highways. Our current code does not specifically address the use of WATVs in the city limits. The RCW requires cities who desire to allow this type of operation to approve an ordinance that designates streets for that usage. currently there are some surrounding communities that already do this, Thurston County being one of them, Eatonville, Tenino. So basically that's how it got started. Was the question was posed to Mayor Foster, I believe, by someone interested in utilizing this type of vehicle. And so we started down the road a few months back. We talked about it at our public safety committee, and I know that Assistant Chief Carlson presented at the study session as well. And so I will entertain any questions anyone might have regarding this ordinance and what it does, what it doesn't do. Or Terry, please.
Just for clarity for everybody, could you please define what a WATV is, please?
It's a wheeled all-terrain vehicle.
Do you have a picture of what it looks like?
The actual ordinance describes in detail what it takes to meet the requirements of a wheeled all-terrain vehicle. There are several requirements that need to be met. This is not your typical three-wheeled ATV running down the highway. Most vehicles that would meet this requirement are basically your vehicles that would cost you more than a car to buy. Some quite a bit more than a car. They have to have windshields, they have to have mirrors, they have to have blinkers that work. These are fairly substantial ATVs that in order to use them on a roadway. And so, like I said,
Obviously licensed, right? They're licensed.
oh yes, yep, absolutely, yep. Yeah,
Okay.
so it basically meets the requirements that a car does, essentially.
I was just remembering where we were talking about golf carts, so I want to make sure.
It's not for golf carts. James, I see your hand up, sir.
Just quick question. Can we remove the requirement for a windshield?
I believe the windshield is there to avoid the face mask on the helmet. If you had to wear a helmet, you'd have to wear goggles if you don't have a windshield, I believe. Same with a car. I think currently, if you don't have a windshield in a car, you would need to have goggles. So I want to say, let me see if I can find the criteria in here regarding the windshield. I would imagine that if we tweak that, we're tweaking the RCW that would allow what type of equipment the vehicles have. So I would have to look and see if that was something that we could. Is there a specific concern about a windshield?
Well, from my understanding, when we first started talking about this, it would include vehicles like the side by I don't know what their literal term is, but the side by sides. And while they're not cheap, but they're definitely not as much as a car. And a lot of those don't have windshields on them, and that's what most people have, and that's the vast majority of people that would actually benefit from this are the ones that are the people that have those. Now, as far as why the RCW or require goggles or whatever, there's motorcycles that don't have a windshield, and I don't remember seeing anything that requires you to wear eye protection. Not that it wouldn't be smart not to.
So
not,
yeah, so the section in the code that covers the windshield, and you probably see it there in front of you. It does specify the RCW 4637430, a windshield meeting the requirements of that RCW unless the operator wears glasses, goggles, or a face shield while operating the vehicle. So those are a few of the options that you would have in regards to that. Joe?
okay, so if someone did have one of the side by sides that didn't have a windshield on it, as long as they had goggles or glasses on, they're good.
Yes. Yep.
All right, cool. I was just kind of trying to get clarification there.
Joe?
Yeah, I was just gonna clarify the same thing that you just said. If they don't have a windshield, but they're wearing goggles or that, they can still do it. So I'm good with it.
Cool. Okay. Anybody else?
Tracy, go ahead.
Oh, Tracy, sorry.
Yeah, I move to approve ordinance number 1076, adding a new chapter 10.34 to the Yelm Municipal Code relating to the use of wheeled all-terrain vehicles in the city limits of Yelm.
Second, James Blair.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, thank you,
Talk
council.
to that citizen and let him know that citizen action works.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to old business number 8. And this is a continuation of the public hearing from the August 10th meeting when we first presented the 6-year transportation improvement program. So at this time, if there was anybody from the public who would like to address the council on the 6-year transportation improvement program, this would be the time to do so. And again, from the public, if you use the question and answer feature, you could put your question in there, or could allow everybody. I just don't know how to get everybody to allow to talk at the same time, Bree. So unless you can do that, the question and answer box or the raise hand box would work best. Welcome, Lynn, to the attendance tonight. Thank you. And I don't see anybody on the Zoom meeting that wishes to address the council during the public hearing, and nobody here in council chambers. So at this point, it would be appropriate for me to close the public hearing at 6:27 p.m. And we will entertain discussion on resolution 618, which is the adoption of the 6-year STIP for the years 22 through 27. And does anybody need a, well, Cody, you want to give a little recap here?
Yeah, and Patrick Hughes should also be in attendance. Is he on?
I'm not.
If not, that's okay.
Yeah, Pat's here. Pat, can you
Do a recap for us, Pat?
there we go.
Yeah, if I can get, yeah, okay, I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Yeah, no, at the last regular meeting, I presented the 6-year STIP. And this is an annual, as I indicated previously, this is this happens every year. It's a 6-year rolling plan. So this gets passed every year. This particular plan in turn gets folded into the regional STIP, the Regional Transportation Improvement Plan, and from there rolled into the State Transportation Plan. The main thing to understand is that for any project that is to receive any state or federal funding, it needs to be included in the transportation plan. So what you have before you is this year's 6-year plan. If there's any specific questions on any of the project, I'd be happy to try to answer those for you. But this program will get rolled to the Thurston Regional Planning Council probably tomorrow morning.
Pat, can you see the councils and call on them yourself, or do I need to help you with that?
No, I can do that. Councilmember DePino has his hand up.
Thank you, Pat. I support this this package. I think it's smart. Could you go over the one thing though, the one item that has been updated this year, just briefly, Pat?
Actually, there's two long-range roadways that were brought into the plan this year. That would be NP Road and also Roten Road. Those two projects obviously connect or will connect to the new Yelm Loop. And so it's appropriate to pull those into the 6-year plan to begin looking at and planning for those upgrades to those roads, because those will provide a critical link between the downtown area and the surrounding Yelm Loop. So we're looking at both of those projects and pulling those into the current 6-year plan to begin starting some planning on those two projects.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay. Have council having had plenty of time to do this, and as we followed our normal process of first putting the STIP forward to a public hearing and then move it down to the next meeting to continue the public hearing, giving the public and the council plenty of time to look at it. we now have that as an action item before you. I see a question from Councilmember Wood.
Just asking for the floor, Mr. Mayor. I move we adopt resolution number 618, the 6-year transportation improvement program for the years 2022 through 2027.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Curry. She got in just before you, James. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and that'll be presented to the meeting tomorrow, I believe. Thank you, staff, for your work on that important project. And by the way, just it's not part of our STIP, but just in case you didn't get the email from the state, they're opening up a public hearing, the DOT is, on a proposed roundabout at 507 and 8th Street, the heading out towards Spanaway. It's been a very problematic intersection over the years with 25 accidents and 5 fatalities over the past 5 years, or 10, anyway. It's been a really bad intersection. So the DOT is currently having a public hearing on that. You can go to their website. And then subsequent to that, they'll be moving down the highway toward McKenna and putting roundabouts in at 2 of the other problematic intersections as they work their way towards the McKenna Y, at which point we hope to see them put one in there as well. So if you're interested in going to that virtual public hearing, it's open as of today. All right, City Administrator Graham is not with us this evening to give any updates, but I believe the departments have represented any of the upcoming news. So we'll go right into council member reports. We'll start with Council Member Blair.
I missed finance, but was in public safety today. I'll leave some for Holly to go over, but the biggest thing that I wanted to touch on real quick is there was about a 12.5% drop in calls this time compared to this time last year. And there's nothing concrete that could say why, but just in case, I know a lot of people are a little iffy about the legislative, I'm not sure the term I'm looking for, the legislation that went through the state regarding public safety. And there's a little concern about, well, if they're not going to show up to something, then why call? In case anyone's thinking that, just call. If you need help, call 911 and they are going to help you. Our police department isn't going to leave someone stranded. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Curry.
Let's see. The farmer's market is my joy, as always, all summer long. And Cody, my heart just blooms every time I go by the park. It's filled with people and it's gorgeous. Southeast Thurston Fire Authority is very pleased their levy lift passed. And they are planning, we're planning they'll be sending different firefighters to different fires throughout the Northwest. That was as of 2 weeks ago, but okay. Senior Center is sponsoring a pie judging contest at Prairie Days, and we hope everyone will join by bringing a pie. We have 4 categories. You want to know the category? Yeah. Oh, well, you're a judge, so I guess you probably would. Cream pies, meringue pies, fruit pies, meat pies.
Meat pies.
Yes.
Oh, I want to judge meat pies.
Okay, well, you'll get 2.
That's like combining the barbecue rally and a pie judging contest.
Yeah, it's kind of like dessert first and then food.
Yes, like a pepperoni tart or something.
Well, I was thinking more of like a chicken pot pie, but
Oh,
I suppose it could be a pepperoni tart,
we shall see.
which would be a pizza, really.
Oh, true. That'll be exciting to see what they come up with.
Okay, and the water tower is finishing up on their painting. I noticed they've just got a little bit at the bottom left now, and so that should be done within the next week. We'll be skipping. That's it.
Fantastic. Great time to live in Yelm.
It is.
Councilmember Smith.
All right, on Thursday, the 12th, I went to the STEM camp at Ridgeline and watched the kids. That was actually pretty amazing. I have to say, just the way that those kids think. They would give them just these limited amount of resources and tell them to build a catapult, and they did it, you know, with duct tape, cardboard, and rubber bands. So that was fun to watch, just seeing how excited they were. Everybody was seemed very happy to be there. On Tuesday, the 17th, I actually attended a webinar from the MRSC about way to get resources to be able to help me to understand the city council and what I can do and what I can't do more. So that was actually time well spent. Wednesday, the 18th, I went out again with the Lacey PD when they did their community event. Friday, I was at the STEADY meeting, and one thing that just really stuck out with me, we did go virtual again, but towns like Rainier, Yelm, Bucota, Tenino, we're all holding the festivals and everything still. Things are not shutting down in the little towns, so that was good. Rainier is doing their roundup days. I don't want to talk about that because it's the same weekend as Prairie Days, but they are having wiener dog races, which intrigued me. Bucota is going ahead in October with their haunted house, their zombie parade and casket races. Which is kind of interesting. Tenino is looking at getting a bike pump track, which I know we had talked about a while ago, or Yelm had. Everybody has job openings. That was a big topic. Last Saturday, I went to the cornhole tournament that was put on by the Midday Lions, and Mr. Doug's offered us the venue for that. That was great. We raised a little over $3,000 that will all go back to the youth here in Yelm. And then did the, as James said, the public safety meeting today, and a couple things that I got out of it was, they talked about the events that have been happening in the park and just how well behaved everybody is, basically, that everything has just gone very smoothly as from a police perspective. So that was all good. That's it.
That's quite a report, Councilmember Smith. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Well, Michael wasn't here, so I wanted to, you know, talk longer. No, I'm kidding.
That's awesome. Yeah.
She is catching on fast.
I do want to tag in on that STEM camp, though. That's a rare opportunity for, you know, a science, technology, engineering, and math camp for kids of military families in particular. And so the very few cities in the country get to hold that. It was a grant opportunity that came to Yelm. I got to meet the national director of it, who was here for this camp. And you know, two things came out of that were really cool. One, she said of the numerous camps that she's gone to, Yelm was now her favorite because of the kid participation and the enthusiasm of the teachers who were involved in the program. They got really excited about it and really got into it. She reflected what we know, that Yelm is a special place, especially our school system. And then one little kid in particular, a fifth grader who had just built one of those catapults. And I said, "What did this camp do for you?" And she said, "I'm only in fifth grade, but I want to be an engineer." I go, "That's pretty cool." So we'll hopefully get to see more of that in our school system going forward. Councilmember Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Got an opportunity to participate with the Midday Lions and help them out with a venue to do their cornhole tournament, and saw some amazing cornhole play and activity going on. And that's all of the only thing of any relevance I have to report tonight.
Thank you for hosting. Councilmember DePinto.
Thank you, Mayor. had the Public Services Committee meeting on August 12th. Among other things, we got introduced to Landon. And we also talked about the St. Martin's University partnership that we have with them, with those students, which is amazing. The seniors, for one of their senior projects. I'm incorrect me if I'm wrong, Cody, but I think it's an actual course called City of Yelm, where they're helping us and they're planning and they're just doing amazing things for us. One of the things that they're planning with is the dog park, and I believe Cochrane too, but I'm not 100% on the Cochrane, but the dog park and yeah. But other than that, I'm enjoying all these local events that we're having, just like everyone else. It's amazing seeing, thousands of people in Yelm bringing in all that money. I mean, having a good time and all that, but also bringing a lot of money for our local business as well. Shopping here locally, money that's a lot of it's from out of town too. So that's just amazing. The other thing I had was a constituent had a question regarding some issues at the skate park, saying there's been some drug issues. Her son's been bullied and been pressured with drugs. I know we got cameras up there, but just passing along that information, as I told her I would. The other thing is, had another constituent regarding, ask about flood plains. Let me see the exact. He was wondering when the city would update our flood maps for this area. He says the last time it was done, it was in 2012, and FEMA requires cities to update every 5 years. I wasn't sure on the emergency management portion of it, having it updated or not. Perhaps Cody or Chief would know more about that, or perhaps Pat does.
Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, we did. Actually, we just, within the last month, received all the GIS files for the new flood zone. It's updated in 2012 and then again in 2021. So we just received all of that data from FEMA. It's really not in any format to present to the public, but I'll just give you a quick synopsis of the changes that we noticed. The Yelm Creek flood fringe has widened slightly, but there's a significant area right around the Public Works facility. It's actually on the property where our dog park is proposed, which has been removed from the flood zone. So there are some minor changes in it. It's kind of interesting. If you'd like, I could create you a map from that data, but for the most part, well, I guess the answer to your question is yes, we have just received all that update. So
Thank you, Pat. And yeah, it sounded like he wanted something for insurance purposes, or something where it was a financial impact to him, where it was going to help or hurt or something. But yeah, if I could get a floodplain map or that updated map, and that would be wonderful. I can just pass it along to him.
yeah, FEMA has not actually published a firm that would be a flood insurance rate map yet. We just have the base data for it, but we're using it because it is considered the best available data. So that being a criteria, we are using and relying on that information for determination. So yeah, I'll put together a little map and send it over to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Pat.
Sure.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Councilmember Kaminsky.
On that note, I did attend the FEMA preliminary review meeting that we had, but there was so much information. But I do have some kind of a PDF, Joe. I haven't read through it, but if you want, I can forward that to you. I don't even know what's in there. There was so much. So I can do that. I think we had you're welcome. We had a very short finance committee meeting, and yes, Public Works was really interesting. And I don't know if you said this, but the kids are looking at taking down the buildings that we have and creating something very functional and very efficient within one building. So I think that's really exciting. And then I had a Thurston Thrives meeting where I continued to be misunderstood completely. We had a guest speaker, foundation. Somebody came from the foundation of Delta Dental of Washington. And we had a very long, complex conversation about dental health for little kids and all this stuff. And very innocently, I put up my hand and said, well, two things. Why don't we feed them less sugar? And two, teach them how to brush their teeth. Well, that did not go over well because one of the ladies literally scolded me and said that this meeting was not about shaming parents because they couldn't pay for good food. And I'm like, that was not my intent. But if I get my guts gauge up, I'm going to go to the next meeting and suggest that all children brush their teeth after lunch at public school. And I think that probably should solve the problem. That's my meeting.
Terry,
No
I love your persistence in going back to that Thirst Thrives group.
They hate me.
You're
They
amazing.
do.
Thank you for doing that. Anybody want to take Terry's place on the Thurston Thrives committee? Any hands? No hands?
Changing.
Tracy's like hiding from the camera. All right, very good. Thank you, everybody, for your reports. Everything that I had intended to say at the end, I sort of sandwiched in earlier. But one thing I did want to bring to your attention, Blood Works Northwest, the group that we have partnered with to do blood donation pop-ups here at the Yelm Community Center, is making September a tribute to all of the first responders in celebration and commemoration of the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And would suggest that if you haven't done it before, to go out and donate blood in honor of our first responders everywhere. So you can go to the Blood Works Northwest site and you can look, just put in the 98597 and they'll pop up the 4 different times in September and early October when you could donate blood at the Yelm Community Center. And that is all I have, other than to say thank you to our staff who make these meetings and all of our work possible. And there's a community resource fair on the 31st at 11 a.m. at the Yelm Community Center. Thank you, Bree, for that last moment notice. Motion?
Move to adjourn.
That's the one.
Second.
Second, third, fourth, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
See you next time.